You're listening to Turi Writer's She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marcy Persky. When you make a mess of dinner, do you feed it to the dog directly, or do you try to feed it to someone you love first? Also, what is that in the middle of the bed? Oh, wow. I'm looking at your microphone and you're festooned with lions,
Yeah.
streamers and God knows what.
Yes, I'm waiting for the season to start.
I hate to say this, but I was even at a Super Bowl party. And I don't know.
We have our own little Super Bowl.
I don't know who won.
It wasn't the Lions.
Okay.
They didn't play. It would be the Philadelphia Eagles.
So
but
embarrassing that you could actually be at a Super Bowl party. You know, it's usually my goal to make it to the Super Bowl without knowing who's playing.
I'm not surprised in the least. I don't know who would be if they know you.
But you'd think that after my trip to Pensacola and sitting with a whole bunch of Super Bowl watchers, first of all, let me tell you about this Super Bowl party. I walk in and they hand me $20, and I say, "What is this for?" You didn't tuck it into my. Pardon?
Did you have to pick a square?
No, well, I was worried they were going to try and tuck it into my brassiere or something. But since they didn't do that, I asked them, "Well, what is this for?" And they said, "Well, you want to bet." And I had to admit that I didn't know what you would bet on, and I didn't know who was playing. And I thought that was hilarious. And I got to keep the $20 anyway. So then I spent most of the game just sort of visiting with the people who were less interested. And mind you, they had the whole thing that was set up. There were all the appropriate things that you hear about at Super Bowl parties, the drinks and the 7-layer dip and the 7-layer cookies and 7 kinds of beer. And 7 seems to be the magic number for Super Bowls. So
Well, here we have our own little party.
Yeah.
And we had like chips and dip and vegetables and dip and meatballs and all kinds of stuff that, of course, the dogs wanted. So
it's very hard to have a relaxing array of snacks when you have grazing dogs. This is true.
well, the little one, or let's say the young one, is now tall enough to reach all of the countertops. So
Yeah.
it became an issue last night because he ate Frankie's dinner.
Ooh.
And of course, I had to say, you have a very large puppy. Why did you leave it on the counter where he could reach it?
Oh, you blamed
really
the victim. You blamed the victim.
I know I'm great at that. But I don't understand.
What?
I
What
make
don't you
make concessions
understand?
in my life for these animals. Like we don't use the dog door anymore because the goats come in.
Right.
That just is common sense.
You
to me.
consider that to be a concession?
When
do
you have
That's
you
a
have
big
a 5-month-old
sacrifice?
when you have a 5-month-old puppy that is probably 4 feet tall when he stands up, you don't leave food on the counter, even if it's for a minute, because they're fast.
I don't know. When we first adopted Zara, I turned my back and I found her standing on the dining table. And
What'd you do?
I screamed at the top of my lungs, and I pushed her off the table and gently. And then we had one more incident. It turns out it was challah that's the big temptation for her. I don't know why.
You got a Jewish shepherd.
I guess I got a German Jewish shepherd. And she had the incident where between the door and the counter while I was carrying in bags, she opened up the bag with the challah in it. But if you scream loudly enough at a German shepherd, they're pretty smart. They get it.
Jerry's kind of smart, but the dog ate Frankie's fajita. And I had made fajitas last night. And I accidentally put salt on them, like a lot of salt,
Why would you do that?
because I wasn't paying attention.
What did
Because
you?
I thought it was the fajita
Oh
seasoning.
God.
And then, so I took a bite out of mine and threw it away.
Okay.
And then when Frankie came in, he was doing stuff out in the workshop. And when he came, I didn't say anything.
Oh, you
I,
are really something.
but the dog liked it.
The fatal fajita.
They were nasty. They were really bad.
One
Yeah,
time
that was.
I wasn't really paying attention and I thought I had like the shaker setting on the salt thing on the box,
Hmm.
but I had the pour thing open on the
Oh,
box.
I've done that with pepper before. And I told you the time I made fried rice with Worcestershire sauce instead of soy
You
sauce.
did, you did.
Yeah, that was really bad too. But I don't, all of a sudden I just realized, just pouring this seasoning on, and I realized it was like great big chunks of kosher salt. And I'm like, oh no, what do I do? I can't wash it off. And I said, well, I won't tell anyone and maybe they won't notice. But the dog liked
The
it.
dog didn't notice. So you had to make fresh fajitas and those were better.
No, Frankie was too mad to eat after that. I think he ate like fruit snacks. Like dinner last
Gummies.
night.
That's gummies for dinner.
Gummies, yeah.
So, speaking of dogs, but not speaking of dogs, the first of our 3 trips, while we have a buy one get one free ticket, the dog went to visit a friend, and he was very happy to have her for the week. And then we had our lovely house sitter, who's a friend, and we like her very much. But there's a but, of course. She's an how do I say it? Her profession is organizing, and I don't mean like rallies and marches. I mean like she comes into your house and organizes stuff
Yeah.
for money. But in my house, although it looks like a bomb hit it, it's organized my way. And
I understand that exactly
I
because
have,
that's how mine is.
yes. Well, the first time she came, the first couple of times, this years we've been having her come and stay with the pet. But the first time was a little bit disconcerting because I came back home and all my keys were organized on different key rings.
What?
Yeah. It's
How
not,
did she even know
I
what
don't
the keys
know.
were to?
I
Or were they all the same size? Or how
don't
would...
know. I know that when the spousal unit looks at the keys for our rentals, he lines them up and visually he can match them. But I just keep trying till I get one that works. That's kind of
Yeah,
how
that's me too.
yeah, as with men, so with keys. Just keep trying them until you find one that works. So
Got it.
that was how I did it. This time, though, there are things that you do around your house that you regard as no-brainers. Like, who doesn't know how to do this? And then if you
Right.
ask somebody else to do it, you find out that it actually requires some experience to know how to do it. Here,
Well, here's
yes. Well,
this will shock the beans out of you.
yes.
But I've never once had anybody pet sit at my house.
Well, because you have a million kids
Well, I have a million pets.
and a kid for each pet, pretty much.
Yeah, well, only one of them who lives in the back.
Well,
The rest of them,
she can
I would
deal.
have to buy plane tickets.
She can deal. She can deal. She deals.
Yes, she does somewhat.
She does. They don't starve. They're not dead. And I'm very grateful to our
And
house
unlike
sitter.
an organizer, I come home to a dish full of sinks. There's
A dish full of
sink
sinks? I like a
dishes,
dish
not
full of
dish
sinks. Well, there were some things that are, it's not reasonable to expect that the house sitter will take the dead mouse out of the chicken's water bowl. I get that. Yeah. So that was waiting. And we were notified. But the thing that I thought would be pretty simple apparently was not. Filling up
Leave your
the.
stuff alone.
She's really respectful. I asked her to fill up the humidifier every day. She asked how often, and I said, well, usually every day. I'm not sure what part of it is complicated, And I still have to check because maybe there's a crack somewhere that I didn't know about that just sprang loose while we were gone. But we got this little note that water was all over the second floor and had descended to the first floor, and the floor of the first floor was covered with water. It's a big ass humidifier. So I thought, well, all right, you mop it up. But I forgot that when water comes through a ceiling, it doesn't just politely go through and, leave the ceiling alone. So my ceiling looks like some kind of Mars photograph. So does the wall. The floor upstairs looks like an ancient skate park. I couldn't find my batteries. It's enough to make you want to never, ever, ever leave home. And I don't blame her for any of this. I'm the one who has said, can you fix? And she tried, bless her heart. She tried. So the spouse is annoyed at me for being annoyed. And I'm like, dude, you're the one that's going to hear me nagging incessantly until you fix the lunar landing project on our first floor ceiling. So.
Well, I should know better than even to tell you this.
Uh-oh.
But I have a little humidifier because we can't have a whole house one because we live in a log house, for people that don't know. And it's really bad for the logs, I guess. So I have a small one in my bedroom. For some reason, it leaves a wet spot on the bed.
Ooh.
Because I have to.
This is a problem I have not had in years. Well, what is it?
I have to have it turned so that it's blowing towards the bed. But it always leaves like this giant wet spot on the bed.
That's what you say. It was the humidifier, you say.
I knew you would make this like into something filthy.
Well, I mean.
No.
Okay.
Okay. I'm a great straight man sometimes, huh?
How many people, adults say 21 and over, if you say wet spot on the bed, think, oh, that must be your humidifier. That must be the humidifier doing that.
I do.
Look, I may not know who won the Super Bowl, but I sure as heck know.
Know what a wet spot is.
I do.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to Turi Writers' She Said What podcast. We're glad you found us, and I hope you'll find my book, She Said What? A Life on the Air. It's all true, but I've changed the names of the people and the radio stations and a bunch of other stuff because I'd prefer not to get sued. You can find it at your neighborhood independent bookstore or on Amazon.